folks, my name's Sean Cullen. This is Grilling and Golfing, my new YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to cook some ribs. We're going to get you in the sim where we are just now. We're going to have a wee look at what's in my bag. We're going to have a look at my yardages, and we're going to see how I can progress on a golfing journey. I'm a high handicap golfer, joined a local club down where I stay in North Ayrshire, and I'm a chef of over 20 years and I like barbecuing. Barbecuing is one of my passions. So the aim of this channel is to get some good food cooked, hopefully give you some tips and keep the barbecuing simple, and then see how much progress I can make as a golfer. Currently starting off as a 41 handicapper, which is pretty high, so don't expect anything miracles from me. But I try to golf once, twice a week. I try to take lessons once a month, and I want you guys to come on this journey with me. So that's the intro done. Let's head out the barbecue and see where we go from there. So folks, like I was saying, this first video we're going to be preparing some smoked ribs. We'll probably be cooking them about 225, and we'll do the kind of 3-2-1 method, just nice low and slow. I'll explain more about that in the next part of the video. What we're going to do with this, we're going to look, we have some St. Louis cut ribs. They've been squared off the top, squared off the bottom, and they have got most of the fat trimmed away. We have a little bit of fat and kind of meat in the end here. I like to keep that off, although some people do remove it. I feel by leaving it on, the fat tends to render down when we get it in the smoker, and it helps to stop the meat from drying out. A couple of things we need to do with these. We are going to trim them up end and end to get them nice and square, make them look like a good set of ribs. And we're also going to remove the membrane from the back. So I'm going to show you the membrane removal just now. If you look at the back, you'll see there's a shiny part here and it goes down at an angle. This is the part we need to remove. The reason we remove the membrane is it allows the rub to penetrate more on the backside, and also it stops you getting that kind of chewiness when you're getting your first bite of the ribs, or any bite of the ribs really. A couple of ways we can do that. We can use a spoon, or we can use just a standard kind of dinner knife. What we want to do, we want to start on the outer edge, and we want to get the knife underneath the membrane while these are still fridge cold. If we let them heat up or like come to room temperature, the membrane tends to get quite slimy and sometimes it will rip off. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to get a piece of just standard kitchen towel, and I'm going to just fold that up. I'm then going to get my knife or my spoon, and I'm going to feel where that first kind of bone is. And I'm just going to get the knife right underneath the membrane and almost kind of like lever it up. And you'll maybe hear that just pulling away. And it's almost like kind of like ripping a band-aid or ripping sellotape off. So I'll get that lifted off, and we can see that starting to peel away there. I'm then going to move up to the second bone, and I'm going to do the same because that will allow me to get a good grip on it. And again, I'm just going to put that on, work the knife, just lever it up until we can get a good bit of way that we can get our kitchen towel onto. And we just want to carefully do that. We don't want to do it too aggressively, or it could end up ripping on us. And if it does rip, we just do the same again with the knife, and we just start on the next bit. So, got that released away. I'm going to use my kitchen roll because it allows me to get a good grip on it. And then I'm just going to carefully just peel it away. If we do this too quickly, the membrane's likely to rip. And that one there, the membrane's just slightly stuck on that there. And like I said, we'll just get there, carefully peel it. And some of the membranes are a bit tougher to remove than others. There we go. So we just peel that along. Use that paper towel to grip it, and then it'll just peel off there at the end. And then just into my food waste bowl, because I like to work nice and neat and tidy. Now that we've done that, I'm just going to get a standard chef's knife. I'm going to flip these over, have a wee look at them. I'm happy with all the trimmings on there. I'm happy that there's not too much excess kind of sinew or that on the back. And I'm happy with the amount of fat, because like I said, as that renders, it'll keep it from drying out. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go over to the side here, feel where that first bone is, and I just want to come right down, square that up, right through there. And I'll keep these trimmings and cook them off for later on, and I'll put them maybe through some Boston beans. And then I'm just going to again square that off there. And there we have a prepped, nice and square. Anything you don't like the look of, a little bit trimmed off, needing trimmed off there. And they're going to be ready to go in the fridge, let them air dry, and then we'll get some rub on them and in the smoker tomorrow. Perfect. Well folks, today's the day. We're going to get these on the smoker. So I have the smoker lit outside. I've lit it about 30 minutes ago. And we're going to run that at about 225 Fahrenheit, which is maybe 105 to 110 Celsius. If it goes up a little bit higher than that, don't worry too much. I use the Masterbuilt Gravity series, which is electronic and it runs a fan which then burns the charcoal in the wood and keeps it at a constant temperature. I just find that a lot easier as I'm not having to manage to constantly go and check the fire. We have the ribs here, so let's have a look at them. Let's get them seasoned and then let's get them on the smoker. So now folks, we can see these lovely ribs. One here's got a little bit more fat on the back, but like I said before, this will help render and keep it moist. This one here has just had a little more trimmed off it. You can see they've dried out well overnight in the fridge, which means they'll set a better bark and they'll just get a better smoke now that they're nice and dry and that moisture's not stopping it from penetrating. Going to use sweet bones and bacon, Angus and oink. Quite like these rubs. I'm just going to start with the back. Once I get the back done, we'll look to get the front done after that. So, just going to use a shaker and just a nice even shake all the way up and down. And I like to get these done within the hour that I'm going to cook them. So I have the smoker on like I just said. And I'm going to get the back side done. And then I'm just going to pat that in. And now that we've removed that membrane, this should adhere a lot easier. And don't mind if it any spillage. I like to do mine in foil and then I can dip the ends in there as well. So we get that patted nicely in. If you've got a bit more time, you could maybe just leave this for about 10 minutes and the salt will help draw a bit of moisture out, which will help it stick. Some people use a binder such as like American mustard, but I find that adds a bit of flavour to it and I want the flavour of the rub to come through rather than the flavour of the mustard. So we've got that tapped on. Flip these over. Don't worry about that excess rub that's fallen off. I'm just going to get the next side done. And be generous because some will fall off. And there we go, nice even coat. Once I get them both done, I'll get that pressed in. I'll leave them for a minute or two and then I'll get them on the smoker. Right folks, so as I said before, we've got this Masterbuilt set at 110. We're going to put these ribs in and I'm going to give them 3 hours to start to get a nice bark developed. Maybe spritz them after an hour or so. Can help to kind of get a nice bark set on it. And then after that we'll maybe look at wrapping them, add a bit of moisture in there, get them braising in that liquid and then we'll finish off by glazing them. So let's get the smoker opened. So I'm going to put these all on the bottom shelf. Set them across the bit. And they'll take a nice smoke and I'll get them trimmings on there as well. There we go. So while they're getting the initial smoke for a few hours, I'm going to head in, fire up the sim and I'll show you what's in my bag and maybe a few yardages as well. Right folks, so now the ribs are on, we're going to give them about 2.5, maybe 3 hours before we're going to get them wrapped. So while we're waiting on that, I'm going to take you into my wee sim and we're going to go through what's in the bag, get some distances off the square launch monitor and then we'll go back and have a wee look at the ribs. So we'll start off with the putter. I use a lot of PXG clubs. With my job I get what they call a heroes discount, you get 20% off and I think they're great quality clubs. I really like the feel of them and great value for money with a discount. I use the PXG Allen Zero Torque putter and I I have this fitted with heavier weights in the bottom. I got this fitted along with the rest of my PXG clubs from Darren up at PXG. I really like the heavy feel of it. It allows me to let the club do the work rather than kind of try to force distance out of it. And I really am getting the hang of this. So, the first club it wants me to start with is actually a new addition to the bag. I have the PXG Lightning forward. I got this about a week ago. I've had it out maybe once or twice on the course, and I find it's a bit hit and miss with me being a high handicap golfer, and it's quite difficult for me to hit, but I think the more I use it, the more I'm going to get used to it. So let's see how it's going to perform today. When I'm doing this bag gapping, I'm just going to aim straight down the middle, but more often than not I tend to draw my shots, so they will end up on the left, but chances are being high handicap they may end up on the right as well. So I'm going to set up and see how this club's performing today. So again, I would expect a forward for me to go probably about 155, 160 carry, and that's what kind of 131 we'll say. So folks, that was my forward weight there, and we'll have a look at the averages at the end once I've done all the clubs. I do apologise if the sound changed a little bit, as I forgot to put my mic on when I started there. After the forward, it's looking for me to use my lob wedge, which to me is my 58 degree 11 blaster wedge. That's 11 brand. I quite like this for coming out of bunkers. It's got a nice wide sole, which helps give me the best chance of getting out first time, although being high handicap it's not always the first time. I don't tend to do full swings with this unless I'm in the sim, so let's see what we're looking at with this today. Nice strike with that. Next club up is the sand wedge. Now I play 7-iron to sand wedge in the PXG Black Ops irons, and I play them to, I think it's 1 degree weak, so this tends to be running about 55 degrees I believe. I'll just show you this one. I really like these game improvement wedges, and yeah, but they're quite strong, lofted, so I just feel that maybe further down the line I might like to get something that's a bit kind of more traditional lofted. Help me get that ball up in the air. Let's see how the sand wedge is working. So that was the sand wedge. Next we'll step up to the gap wedge. Again, PXG Black Ops. So folks, now on to the pitching wedge. Now we're into the irons. Stepping up with 9-iron now. Now, up with the Black Ops 8-iron. Black Ops 7-iron. Last iron before we hit the top of the bag. Now we're into the kind of top of the bag. You've already seen the forward at the beginning there. This is another new club, and as you probably noticed with the likes of my 7-iron, I tend to struggle from there up. I've not got a fast swing speed. I don't tend to hit the ball very far. I do have a Black Ops 6-iron, but I've took that out of the bag because I could barely hit it. It wasn't kind of a club that worked for me. So I got fitted for a club that you probably don't know anyone that's got. I have an 11 wood. 11 wood is 27 degrees in loft, so it's very similar to my 7 iron loft. But obviously being a fairway wood, it tends to go a bit heavier in the head and it tends to go a bit further. Now I know on the foresight this tends to carry about 130 on average. And I really do like this club, but today I've not been hitting very well, so let's see what I can do with this. That felt really good. And as you can see, 67 feet in the air with the square, and I know I'm usually about 5-10 feet higher than that. Next we go back into Black Ops, and as you can probably guess, with an 11 wood, it then goes to a 9 wood. I've had this 9 wood for a while, and again, one of my favourite clubs, and I tend to carry this about 142 whenever I hit it right. And last club before we go into the big stick is the 7 wood. So I run driver, 4 wood, 7, 9, 11. I do have a 4 hybrid, but I don't tend to get on with it too well. It always goes right. So let's see what I can do with this. So, now on to the big stick. PXG Black Ops, set about 12 degrees. Let's see how I got on with it today. I've been hitting it not too bad lately, so let's go. If you look on screen now, you'll see all my gapping. And like I say, my 7 iron, I've been hitting my 8 iron further there today. And I also hit my lob wedge further, my sand wedge. But I do think I've been having a pretty poor result today. I think usually I'm, again, further with my driver and that, I tend to be 160, 170. 4 wood, when I was on the foresight the other day, I was totaling 167 with that. 7 wood, again, usually in the 150s. And then the 2 hybrid is actually my 9 wood. And again, I'm usually at 140 with that. The 3 hybrid is my 11 wood. And I'm usually in the 135, 140 region with that. Yeah, all in all, been a pretty poor kind of swing today. But this gives me a baseline for you guys in the future. And maybe after a month or two, I'll redo these again. And I'll see where my numbers are sitting. And like I said, I'll maybe try and get on the TrackMan or try and get onto foresight again. And see what the numbers are looking like on there. Because, yeah, although I'm not a big hitter, that's a lot lower than I'm used to. What we'll do now, we'll get packed up in here. We'll go and have a wee look at these ribs. Maybe get them a little spritz, and then we'll get them wrapped after about the 3 hour mark or so. So folks, 2 hours in, let's have a look at these ribs. They're looking good. Looking good there. A little bit of moisture. Bark's starting to set really nicely. Maybe give them a little spritz and then we'll get them back on. Another hour or so and we might be ready to wrap. I like to give them a little spritz in order to stop the bark from setting and caramelising too much. But there we go folks, after the wee spritz they're looking good. We'll check these again in about an hour. So here we are now folks, we're going out, going to check the ribs. We've been about 3.5 hours in now. Let's have a wee look. To me they're looking fantastic. You start to see the bone just pull back on them. Nice and tender, nice bark set on them. What we're going to do, we're going to put them on a double layer of tin foil I have here. We're going to put on some hot honey, some barbecue sauce, and I'm going to just line a few bits of butter. So, put 3 cubes of butter on here. I'm going to use Angus and oink, glazed and confused. Get a good layer on there. And then just a little bit of hot honey. You can use brown sugar for this, but I like to use a little bit of hot honey, get a little bit of heat in there as well. And again, just right on like that. And then all I'm going to do next, I'm going to pick up my lovely rack of ribs, flip them over on top. I'm going to get this wrapped up, back on the smoker, and then I'll do the same with the next ribs. So guys, I've been probing these, they're probe tender. All we need to do now is create a little boat with the foil, and I'm going to get some glaze. Just going to use the same Angus and oink, glazed and confused as I used before. Going to just spray some on there. Get a little brush, and all I want to do is glaze these. I'm going to give them another 15 minutes back on the smoker. And when I come back, it should be nice and dry, nice and sticky. Maybe give them another quick brush with some barbecue sauce, and then back on for another 15. So these should be ready pretty soon. I'm just get these finished up, back on the smoker, and then I'll get the next ones on. Look at those now, guys. You can see the glaze is nicely set on there. These ones look a little drier, but I don't mind that. I'm going to let these rest up for a few minutes. I'll get them inside, get them cut, get them tasted, and let you know how they are. Now guys, that is this rack of ribs. Absolutely tender, not quite fall off the bone, but oh my god, how good does that look. Give it a little squeeze, we can just see all that juice. Oh, can't wait to get a bite of these. Well guys, here comes this first bite. Oh man, where did I go? Absolutely fantastic. Some good ribs. Well folks, hope you enjoyed learning about some barbecue cooking, learning about my golf, and I hope you'll like and subscribe and follow me in this journey. It's been an absolute pleasure. Take care folks.